Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of the YugabyteDB Friday Tech Talks. I'm Kannan Muthukkaruppan, one of the co-founders at Yugabyte. It's my pleasure to welcome you all today. Our guest and speaker today is Hari Sunder, and let him introduce himself as well as the topic for today. Thank you, Hari. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Kannan. Hello, folks. My name is Hari Krishna Sunder. I've been with Yugabyte for more than a year and a half now. I work on the storage side of Yugabyte, mainly like X cluster upgrades, leader preferences, some features like that. Before Yugabyte, I was at Microsoft for like 10 years, and I worked on Azure SQL database for 5 years, and then Synapse Data Warehouse for 5 more years, and that again as part of the storage side of the teams. So logging, recovery, replication, metadata, storage components. Right?
And Hari, you were previously on YFTT with a couple of other topics, if I remember.
Yeah, I did the one on preferred leaders.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that was a year ago.
Being able to specify the preferred zones or regions where we want to place.
Right. Yeah,
Great.
in a geo-distributed.
For geo-distributed scenarios. Yeah, great, wonderful. Let's get started on today's topic.
Good. So today we're going to talk about how YugabyteDB handles format changes during updates. So there's like internals of how Yugabyte actually works. And I'll start with the brief overview of the YugabyteDB architecture. So Yugabyte is basically broken up into 2 layers. We have an extensible query layer on top, which has pluggable APIs like Postgres compatible API, YSQL, Cassandra compatible YSQL, and the space for more in the future. And below this layer, we have our DocDB storage layer, which handles the actual storage of data in RocksDB and distributed transactions. It uses RAF for replication, fault tolerance, load balancing, auto sharding for the horizontal scalability, and a ton of more stuff in the storage layer. So from the start, our system is like broken up into multiple pieces, but there's a little bit more to the picture, right? So if you've deployed YugabyteDB, you would have noticed we have 2 services, a master and a T server or the tablet server. And each of this is responsible for different components of those layers. And these are deployed across multiple nodes. So if a typical YugabyteDB deployment, like an example here, we have 4 nodes. We have your query layer running on 4 nodes and the master layer running on 3 nodes. The user app can connect up to any of these nodes and run your YSQL or YSQL queries, and they're going to get like distributed, sharded, and you're going to get the performance benefit of all the nodes combined. And in order to do that, your data is replicated, right? I think via Raft consensus, and it's stored to disk on multiple nodes. And this gives us durability, high availability. And also, in this example, you can see that within the system, the 2 services and the 2 layers are actually communicating with each other. Store data to process data to get results back. So there's a lot of chatter between the various components, right? And within services across nodes, and that's just for a single YugabyteDB universe, what we call a universe. If you have something like a cross-cluster, X cluster, you have 2 Yugabyte universes with async replication. It's even more communication between universes themselves. But yeah, so in a nutshell, it's like we have a ton of chit-chat and chatter going on in the system. And we need all of these parts to talk the same language, the same format. If they don't, the chaos is going to happen and bad things will emerge. So
makes sense, yeah.
Now, well, we built that. We have this system. We have deployed it. It's running fine. Everything's good. But then we release new versions. We release new versions that contain new features, that improve performance, functionality. There's like cost savings, space savings, security vulnerability fixes. So there's always some upgrades coming up. So you have to upgrade. And in YugabyteDB, upgrades are always online. What that means, the database is available for reads, writes, DMLs, DDLs during the entire duration of an upgrade. If you have this example at 4 nodes, but if you have like 20, 100 nodes, it takes a while to upgrade the system. And for the duration of the upgrade, you can use your database like you normally do. And we achieve that by upgrading in a rolling manner. So what the rolling manner means is we do it one node at a time. So at any point, we don't take the entire system out. Which is good, but new features just don't work out of the box. Some of them require new data format. They need changes to the languages the two services talk with. And this may be data that is stored on disk, or just something RPC messages, wire protocols that's sent from node to node, service to service. And the last 2 points combined, that's trouble. So that's not easy, right?
Yeah, maybe just to call it out one more time, because we are upgrading the software of Yugabyte version from say version 1 to version 2 in a rolling manner, and this could take 10 minutes or 100 minutes depending upon how many nodes are there in your cluster. At any given time, there could be a mixed set of nodes, some nodes running the older version of the software and some nodes running the newer version of the software. And like you said, how do we deal with this format changes that are potentially on disk or on the wire, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when this side, the rolling part, like Kannan mentioned, is when we start with version V1 in the initial state. In this example, I have 3 nodes, A, B, C, and they're all talking with each other. They're all on version 1. And to do the rolling upgrade, we stop node C on version 1 and start it up on version 2. And as soon as you do that, it's going to keep talking with A and B, keep responding to the user's app and process queries. And we do it one node at a time, which is the rolling aspect of it. So after C, we do the same for B and then A, until you get to the final state where all the nodes are on version 2. Right? So the initial and final states are fine, they work. But in the middle, you have now 2 versions of the software that's talking with each other. And so if you have new format or new messages in version 2, if node C sends something to node A that doesn't understand, it can't work. Your DB will become offline. So it can become unavailable. And in order to explain this with an example, I picked the packed close feature. So there's been a previous YFTT on this. It's a big topic on its own. But just to briefly explain it, this is a feature that improves insert speed, lower storage footprint, faster bulk inserts, all awesome features. But in order to do that, we have to change the format of data that is replicated in our write-ahead log and also stored to the ROX DB. Right? So it's changing the data, the wire protocols, and on-disk format. And in this example, the format change, we have multiple key column entries that we are now packed into one entity with one key and multiple columns in it. Right? So yeah, there has been a format change. So how does that work? What's going on is we have tablets with Raft, a single leader and multiple followers. In this example, I have 1 leader with 2 followers. And they're all running on different nodes because you have to be, nodes can crash. They can be in different zones or different regions. And the leader is responsible for writing new data. And that's now going to write in version V2, a pack format. So here, assuming the leader is on V2, the followers are on V1, if it sent this packed data to any of the follower is going to think it's got some garbage corrupted data. At best, it's going to either crash itself or ignore the request. Both of them are bad because your writes are not failing. So we don't want the leader to send the new data during the update, right? We don't want it to send the new format until it is sure that every node in the system can understand the new format. So how do we do that? All distributed systems sort of have a similar problem with this, and they use feature flags. In YugabyteDB, we used a highly customized fork of the Google flags. And Google flags essentially are switches and knobs of YugabyteDB, right? They let you tune the database. You can set various aspects of the DB, like the block cache size, the verbose logging level if you wanted to, enable YSQL, disable it, and also, in our example, enable the backrows feature. And the Google library by itself is like really nice to use. It's very code friendly, it's very flexible and all that. So it's why we base it out of that. So how does this actually look like? As a developer, it's very easy to use. All you have to do is write one C++ macro that says, in this example, I've used load balancing. Right? So we have a G flag for load balancing that says, well, this flag chooses whether we want to do load balancing in the system to balance the shards or tablets or not.
And right now, when you're referring to a developer, you're talking about the developer working on building the database, not the developer using the database, right? This is like internally new features like packed rows or are launched and right.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, the developer within YugabyteDB adding the new feature.
Yeah.
So, and which is why all of our code is in C++. It's all open source. I can share code snippets with you. It's fine. And Google Flags is very useful because we can just use that now in the code with this simple function here. And you can see that load balancing is set to true. So it means our cluster is load balanced. And our customizations on top of G flags lets us give a nice UI on top, where you can just like, if you have YugabyteDB anywhere, you can see those flags and you can see the same description just show up here, the same default values, and you can set this. You can just like change the value with a click of a button. But G flags are not enough. So in the example that we just saw, load balancing was set to true. If the same flag was for pack rows, well, I can't set it to true because if I'd set it to true, V2 would have just sent the pack row data. We are back to the same problem. So I have to set it to false to say don't use pack rows yet. And we are not, it's not safe yet. But if I set it to false, it means after your upgrade, the pack rows are not enabled. So all of those performance benefits are not getting turned on for the users. So, well, the option is to manually for the users to go set the flag. And in order to do that, they'll have to go find the list of the G flag names, find the values that they have to set them to, then manually enter those names and value in the UI. Or if you're using Yugabyte or OSS, you have the flags file, you have to type the entire string in the right format. And you have to repeat that for every universe, for every upgrade. So it's manual, it's error prone, it's not ideal. And we want to improve on this. And we do that using something called AutoFlags. AutoFlags are like G flags that are built on top of G flags. And they are feature flags that help with features like pack rows that change the data format. And that helps us to safely and automatically enable these sort of flags. This is why it's called auto in the name. So the difference now is that these auto flags, instead of having one value, have two values, an initial and a target. So any new code version that comes along, any auto flag that V2 brings along, like pack rows, we want it to be in the initial value during the upgrade. And then once you are done upgrading all the nodes, you want to set it to the target value. And we want to do all of this without too much involvement from the user. So for in the example of packed, let's see how this now looks like. So we have a similar macro, and this is the YSQL pack row flag. It's got the initial value false and target set to true. And it's used in code just like you normally do. So as the YugabyteDB developer, it's almost easy to add. And it's not safe from upgrade. The system will take care of the rest of it. So how does the upgrade now look? So this is the upgrade procedure, how you upgrade YugabyteDB. Like, as I mentioned, you have to do rolling restart of all the nodes. So you have to upgrade all the YB masters first in a rolling manner. And then you upgrade all the YBT servers in a rolling manner. And this is for OSS users, by the way. And Yugabyte, I think, has a button that it does the same thing under the covers. But for OSS, yes, you have to do it manually. Is that you upgrade masters, T servers, and when you're done, you promote AutoFlags, which is essentially a command to let the system know the upgrade is done. All the nodes are on the new version. It is safe to enable these like new features now. And after that, there's another MySQL stuff, which is a good topic for another future YFTT. So I'll skip that for now. And yeah, in the packed example, once you hit the promote AutoFlags, the packed rows feature is now enabled, and you're going to get the benefits of the feature.
And the nice thing about, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Hari, the promote AutoFlag step is a simple command that doesn't need to know that this particular release of Yugabyte has these 3 specific flags that I need to turn on to get the benefit of the new features. It's just more of a magical command that automatically figures out which of these AutoFlags. I mean, once the upgrade is complete, you just issue this command and it promotes all these AutoFlags to their target state, right? And essentially,
yeah,
now they get the benefit of features like packed rows. When the right release, they upgrade to the correct release automatically, rather than doing a upgrading with the feature flag false and manually going back and turning all the flags back true.
Yeah. And for features like packed, yes, at least the customers get something. We have more internal features where we do our own very internal format changes, right? Letting the features know about those flags is just it's going to be too hard for the users. So I have the demo where I'll show how easy it is actually to do this step.
Great.
And for the purposes of the demo, I'm actually going to show a different feature. This one is expression pushed on feature, right? And again, this is a performance improvement feature. What it does, it moves the processing of the query to closer to the data, so it makes things faster. This involves a RPC message change between the 2 layers. Nothing on disk has changed, but just the communication between the 2 has changed, right? So now the request now contains some expression that it's sending to the storage, the data layer. So, I mean, if the data layer doesn't honor the expression, well, bad things are going to happen. You're not going to get the right results. And in the demo, I'm going to use a predicate expression. So I'm just going to use a back clause. And I'm going to run this simple select query with a back clause, which hopefully runs faster, right? If you're on an old version, you hit upgrade, your queries are now magically faster.
So just to make sure I understand, Hari, so in the older version of the software, the expectation is the storage layer sends all the rows to the query layer, and the filter v1 equals 222 is computed at the query layer. Whereas in the newer version of the software, the expectation is that this filter itself is pushed to the storage layer, right? And then I'm guessing you're going to demonstrate the fact that in the mixed case, when we are in the middle of an upgrade, things are safe and so on, and behaving kind of like the older version of. Okay, thank you.
Right. Yes. In the middle of an upgrade, things will be, your results will be correct. You may not get the perfect benefit yet, but the results will be correct, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So let me switch to demo. And here I have a 3-node local cluster, and it's got 3 masters and 3 T servers. So let me see if I can show that. So we have 3 masters here, 1, 2, 3. And if I go to my T servers page, I have 3 T servers. So I'll open this first one, and I'm going to show the flags page. And this is set the UI to see what flags are set. And I mean, this is the AutoFlags list we have, and we don't have expression push down. If I search for it or push down, nothing shows up. It's got like 6 on flags, but our feature isn't that. And now let's go back to our
just for my understanding, which what was the version number of the initial version you showed us?
This one is an older feature, so I think they're running some version of 2.14.
Okay.
Because this feature has been there for a while. I've used this because it's nice to show a demo. It's very easy and quick to demo.
Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, this feature has been there for a while now.
Okay.
So I'm going to create a simple table with the name complex table, but it's a simple table with a key and 2 values. I have inserted 1000 rows in it. And I just done a random select. You see that results are there. So I'm going to do now is run the select command, and I'm going to run it in a loop. Right? And we can see that this is now running with the var clause. It's a debug build. It's my local machine. So there's variance. It's running between 20 milliseconds or so, and flag is in there. So I'm going to try to switch this to my V2 version, which is actually 221. So it's like cutting edge new. I'm going to do a rolling restart, but demo, so I'm going to do it quickly. I'm not going to wait. Right? I'm just going to do all of the masters first and then teasers, but I'm not waiting for anything in middle. It's fine for me. I'll give this a second so that it's still safe in the sense it makes sure things come up before the next thing proceeds. It's not doing it in an unsafe manner. It's just very quick. Yeah, now T server 1 is updated. So let's go back to our T server 1. So if I refresh the flags page now, new flags are now shown up. And you can see right here is our expression pushed on flag. And it's false. The flag is set to false, and it's because the thing is still upgrading. So if I go back and run my watch command again, you can see that well, it's upgrading, so it's a little bit high and low, but it's still hovering around 15, 18 milliseconds. So it's not, I haven't gotten any benefits from the upgrade yet. So now we have to do our final step, which is promote AutoFlags. And it's a very simple command. I'm just running for OSS, the YugabyteDB command. It says promote AutoFlags. Nothing to it. And I didn't know anything about expression pushdown. I don't know what AutoFlags are. It's just some command that I run. And let's hit that. It's going to do something. And yep, it says new AutoFlags are promoted and successful and whatnot. Let's come back here. The query is now running at 5 milliseconds and 8 milliseconds. So yeah, it's much faster than before. So has it turned the feature on? I'm guessing yes. So let's refresh again. Yeah, expression pushdown is now set to true. But also not just that. If you notice, we have far more sequence pushdown and some not null pushdown. They're all set to true as well. So if I'd used other queries, a bunch of my queries are going to now run much faster.
So one question, Hari, like this command, if customers are using YugabyteDB with our DBAS layer, our control plane like Yugabyte Anywhere or Yugabyte Managed, then the promote AutoFlag step is automatically done by the upgrade capability built into the control plane. And
yep,
there are probably guardrails to make sure that all the nodes have actually made it to the new version of the software. Whereas if an open source user runs this command, I'm curious, like, is there any checks to make sure all the T servers are at a particular version and so on?
Right. We make sure that if, for whatever reason, if a T server starts up on an old version, that in the packed example doesn't understand macro, it will not start up. It'll throw an error saying it's at version X and it doesn't have an auto flag that it expects to. So we have also, I've done it manually myself. A ton of times when I start the thing on an older version, and the code will guard us from trying to read data we don't understand.
Got it. Makes sense.
So let's go back here and yep, that's the demo.
And one other question, like since which release of Yugabyte is the promote concept itself available? This promote AutoFlags and this.
Right. The promote concept itself has been available from 2.16 to 16.
Okay.
I believe it's been in Yugabyte Anywhere since 2.18. Our docs for the OSS, there's the link to it. And they, I think, are from 2.16 onwards.
Got it. And if somebody is upgrading from, say, 2.14 or 2.16 to, say, 2.18, and they're an open source user, now, if they just run this additional command, they would get the benefit of more of the internal changes. They don't need to know about packed rows or expression push down. Just by just features that could not have been automatically enabled because they were not rolling upgrades safe. Now they'll get the benefit of those features once they finalize with this promote step.
Yep. And there's a ton of flags. If you look at the page, there's like a ton of these features. Right? There's some save points enablement, some tablet splitting, and the user doesn't have to know what any of these mean, right?
Yeah.
Or what value to set them to. And they just like, for them, things just run faster than before.
Great. Yeah. Wonderful. Did you have more topics today? Any other slides?
No, there's reference, and I'll just go back to the anyone, thank you note, and link to the Slack channel. If you have any questions, feel free to post that.
Wonderful. There's one question coming in. Are there any issues if an open source user accidentally runs the promote step twice?
No, you can run it twice. So, and this one, I can run it again. It's going to just say nothing to promote. There's like no new AutoFlags were eligible for promote, so nothing happens. So it's idempotent. You can run it as many times as you want.
And is there a verbose mode like where they can see what flags were actually promoted?
We today printed to the log. The command gets it, but just doesn't decide to print it out to the console here.
Got
and
it.
also go look at the UI page, the flags page to see what's
Yeah.
new. But yeah, we try to not throw that information out right out by default.
If you could just show one more time how to get to the flags page.
So, I mean, let's go to the shop. I'm looking at the T server endpoint, and
utilities.
you don't know the utilities, and you can just hit logs. Oh, sorry.
The G.
I can see I've always go to logs. So yeah, so you can hit flags, and you can see there's three sort of try to categorize it. The basic one, let's say who this node is. That's a T server. Then that's the port, and these are the custom flags that I sort of set when I started it up. I have my disk location and whatnot. And if I scroll down, I have the auto flag. So these are what the system is automatically doing. And yeah, there's a whole list on that.
Yeah, it's a very nice feature in my opinion that you came up with it. If I remember, like from conception to design and implementation. And thanks for sharing this with the broader community. Thanks, Hari, for joining us today. I'd like to thank everyone else that joined for today's episode of YFTT. Do join us again next week. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the day and weekend. Happy Diwali to those of you celebrating this weekend. And Hari, over to you.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Again, like any questions, feel free to post on Slack. And happy weekend, happy Diwali.